Hello, everybody. This is Kenneth Pope, and this is my presentation on bullying in kindergarten. The subtitle is Essentials for Combating Bullying in the Classroom. I am Kenneth Pope, and I am going to talk about my presentation topic. I hope you enjoy, and I count it a pleasure for you to be watching my presentation. Let's begin. Let me give an introduction of myself. My educational background is I have an associate's degree in paraprofessional education that I received from the University of Phoenix in 2008. I then went to get a bachelor's degree of science in management in 2013. Currently, I am trying to obtain my master's in education from Wisconsin Lutheran College in their transition to teaching program. My professional experience is I currently am an educational assistant for the Madison Metropolitan School District, and my former position was a special educational assistant for the Madison Metropolitan School District, which I held for 4 years. Before that, I was a Head Start teacher for a 3K classroom, and at the current time, I am an avid tutor working with students in middle school. My professional aspirations are to become a 4th grade teacher, and I'd like to get my music teacher credentials as well in the near future. All right, everybody, let's get into talking about the practicum topic. My topic for my practicum is bullying in the urban kindergarten classroom. The reason I picked this topic is I work in a kindergarten classroom, and I noticed that with my students, first of all, I work in an urban classroom and an urban school. Most of the demographics in my school are mostly African American and Hispanic students. In the Madison area, we have a large number of them in the classroom, and the social economic status can go from, we have millionaires that go to our school, and we have a lot of students that are on Section 8 or are homeless as well. The reason that I picked this topic is in my classroom, I noticed through observation that a lot of my kids were getting into bullying and they're just in kindergarten. And we really didn't have any curriculum that taught students in kindergarten about bullying. We taught them how to share. We taught them how to have feelings and things of that sort. But we really didn't get into, no, you don't gang up on a student because they have a speech impediment or they're a little bit different or they have different culture. So I wanted to think of things to really combat bullying in the 4K classroom. So I came up with the idea of possibly a brochure to give the kindergarten teachers from the K3 or the K3-year-old class and the K5-year-old class and the K4 class to really get us all on the same page as far as what we could teach our early childhood students about bullying. In this brochure, I wanted to have essentials, because I got the idea of essentials from a book I read called The 55 Essentials by Ron Clark, and I really wanted to come up with ideas for students in this age level to combat bullying. I wanted the teachers to know what bullying is, because a lot of people just have a main idea that, okay, kids are on the computer and they're writing bad things about each other and kids are getting really upset and possibly getting depressed about it or having bad things happen to them on the playground or things of that sort. And mostly you see that in the upper grades, but in the kindergarten classroom, teachers really didn't know what bullying is because they just thought, okay, these kids are so young that they're just learning how to develop regularly. And so you're going to get picked on, and that's just a way of life, and that's what teachers are believing is happening in the kindergarten classroom. But actually, there is bullying in the kindergarten classroom. I also wanted teachers to have the essentials to know that there are policies that our school has and our school district has that are for bullying. I remember going to our personal development days at the school at the beginning of the year, and they actually went over the bullying policy, but they really were more catering to the upper grades instead of dealing with kindergarten as well. And I felt like this needed to be incorporated to the early childhood part of the school as well, since we're supposed to be all one community. I also wanted to teach ways or strategies for stopping bullying. We actually have a curriculum in my school called Second Step that we use with our students. And this teaches about sharing. It teaches about how to ask a question to another person or to a teacher, and how to be respectful and all these different things. But it really didn't talk about being nice to your other students and not bullying them or excluding or isolating other children and teasing and things of that sort. So I wanted to come up with a brochure that gave ways of combating that and stopping that. And so that when they go into another grade, they're able to already know that we do not tolerate bullying in our school. One of the most important things that I wanted to put in this topic was how to report it, because what we usually get is we'll get a telephone call from the parent saying, example, Johnny is being teased by this student. What can you do about it? Or he's being teased at his let's say his daycare or something of that sort. He comes into our class crying, and they're asking, what can you do about this? And we do have ways of reporting it through the school district and through our school to make these situations go away, or to start a behavioral plan with the bullying student and the victim so that these things do not keep going. Why do I want to do this practicum topic? I really want to do it because I want to deal with behaviors in the kindergarten classroom, because there's so many behaviors. You have behaviors of isolation, you have behaviors of teasing, you have behaviors of kids not playing with other children and excluding them. So I want to look at a behavior that's actually happening in the kindergarten classroom and focus on that when there are so many behaviors to choose from, and this is one that's very popular in our society today. So I want to deal with how can we end bullying at the foundation of education when the student is very young. And that's why that is my practicum topic, and that's what I'd like to do. All right, let's get into some of the things that I found through research, or what I wanted to see happen. First of all, I came up with a brochure that wanted to come up with a brochure that was effective enough in combating bullying. So I had to get a lot of input from different people in my school and other schools around the district, and actually around the country. I called some different people to get information on what they believe in their school district and what we believe here in Madison. I wanted to have this brochure teach colleagues ways to deal with bullying. I wanted them to have actual strategies for them to use, so that as a foundation, the students are not going through these situations and being victimized. I wanted to possibly take this information and one day come up with a possible curriculum for kindergarten level bullying, because we have a whole bunch of things for the upper grades, but if you really look at the research for kindergarten bullying, there is not that much information. And a lot of the earlier information that I found said that there was no kindergarten bullying. There just wasn't enough research done. But what we're finding as we go into 2017, 2018, that there really is a need for curriculum for kindergarten level bullying. Some of the essentials that teachers must know about their districts and bullying is very important. You need to know how to report it. Teachers need to know how to combat it. They need to know how their principal feels about it, how their school deals with it, how the parent wants to deal with it. Because many times it's just calling the parent, getting involved, seeing what's going on at home, and then coming up with a behavioral plan that is going to deal with that bullying or that victimization. Sometimes the victim student needs to learn how to stand up for themselves because they're really not being bullied, but they're just not standing up for themselves and need to learn those social skills to grow and to develop. So I want to create essentials for teachers so that they know what their district wants to do and what their school wants to do as well. Because it's important to report these things, because if we don't report them, that's when you get into teachers being sued and the school district being sued because their teacher did not take any action about the bullying that the student was having. And then some students become depressed and it affects their entire life after they leave your classroom. So it's very important to have the teacher know these essentials. I'd like to do more research for the kindergarten level on behaviors because a lot of it is just seen as developmental, and some things are more than just developmental. Some things can affect the whole lifestyle and mental health of the child as they go through all the upper grade levels. Kindergarten is our foundation, and we have to come up with major outcomes for them so that all of our students can succeed. So there are connections that as I go into education that I want to happen. One connection to this career is I want to one day teach fourth grade. And one thing that you know is that when you go into an upper grade, the development of the child changes. Kids are at that age about to go into adolescence. And so one of the things that they start wondering about is their social skills and how people feel about them. And making friends is very important, and being included in the group and being cool is very important. So as a teacher, I want to know the ins and outs of making sure that student is confident, that they know how to stand up for themselves, that they know how to be a friend, that they know how to share, and they know how to become educated on things in the world and are just always on top of things in the fourth grade. So it'll make it easier when they get into middle school. I remember being a middle school sub and seeing how there's so many things that they deal with when they're going through adolescence. So I want to start in fourth grade, giving them some of those keystones to develop as they go into the fifth and the sixth grade. Another thing, as a special education assistant, I learned a lot about behaviors, and I had to deal with many behaviors. And so through my professional experience, I find that we need to find ways of curtailing different behaviors, of knowing how to discipline and giving discipline that is going to actually be effective and not be effective. You can't have a bully and offer them candy. There's got to be some consequences and things that have to happen in order to teach them that bullying is wrong and that behaviors are wrong. So we need to find ways to give that discipline and give those incentives to make them a better student, to teach them to be respectful. to other students and make this so it is a community, because these kids will eventually go out into the world, and these are the kids that are going to be taking care of me and us when we get older. So I want to have people that are respectful, that have a mind, and that are confident. Another thing that this actual practicum topic did for me was it actually taught me about networking. Throughout my master's degree, it's been kind of like a box. I felt like I was in a box because you just took a class, you learned things about teaching in that box, and you went out and you tried it in your classroom, which is good. But one thing that I found throughout this degree also is that you need to meet colleagues, you need to meet teachers, not only in one school, but in other schools, because many schools are different. One thing I liked was when I was a sub is I got to go into all the different schools in the city of Madison and around in the surrounding communities, such as McFarland, Monona, went all the way to Watertown one time to see what their actual policies and procedures were like and how their children were. And it just gave me a lot of insight into how behaviors are and how things work in different places. So you got a lot of networking. I met a lot of different teachers, a lot of different subs, a lot of different counselors and principals and administrators, so that I could build on those things that I learned. Some were really good, some were not. And I know which things I really wanted to have and which things I didn't. I actually knew which schools to go to and which ones not to go to. And I really thought that was good networking and taught me a lot. Another connection that I found to my career goal is discipline. Many teachers discipline different. What's great about a lot of my subbing and professional experiences, I got to work, co-teach with other teachers, and I saw discipline that I liked and thought was effective, and ones that I just thought were not effective at all, or were just didn't make any sense. You had schools where they had a system of discipline where maybe they had to come to the front of the class and apologize to the class for their disrupting class, things of that sort, or they had to do certain manners and procedures that they had to go through for discipline. But what I found a lot of times was it was that one-on-one experience that you have with that child that really is discipline. If you make them feel confident, if you gain that rapport with the child, if they see that you really care and are passionate about what they're doing, that it makes it more meaningful and they will remember that time with them, and it will make them not want to have that behavior again. So they're actually learning a discipline that they can pass on to their children. Future professional endeavors. I see this as one day maybe taking this on the road, going to teach other people about what I know about kindergartners and bullying and behaviors in this educational world. I see that happening. I have always wanted to be a facilitator in a conference one day, talking about something that is not popular, but is innovative in education. And I believe that this possibly could be, especially with the influx of bullying that we're seeing in schools, because kids are just not taught like they used to be about manners, about how to treat people that are elders to them, or just how to treat people in general. It's something that we need to go back to. And I think this is a future professional endeavor. Let's go through what I found through research, what I found through and learned, and what experiences I had. First of all, the majority, I would say 50% of what the research that I did was through observations in a 3K, 4K, and a 5K classroom. I saw many instances of bullying, especially in 3K and in 4K. Not as much in 5K because the kids are a little bit older and have learned a lot more about how to deal with social situations. So a lot of that time that I spent was doing observations with many different teachers, many different teaching styles and curriculums in 3K, 4K, and 5K. One of the other major parts of my learning was through interviews. I worked with Anna Bosner, who was my lead teacher in my classroom, and we sat down and talked about how we would deal with bullying in our classroom. We actually used puppets to teach different strategies through Second Step, but we actually added our own different puppetry teaching that we give to the kids on a constant basis every week. So that's one of the ways that we teach about bullying and our combating it in our classroom. Our lead teacher is Heidi Schultz. She's the early childhood leader. She was Teacher of the Year last year, and she's a major person in our class, in our grade level. And she actually was on a different side, and it kind of scared me because she talked about that there is no bullying in the classroom in kindergarten. And me and her kind of went round and round about it, and I thought gave her different scenarios, and she thought that everything was about development. So I found a different side of the actual experience of bullying in kindergarten from her. Ophelia Low-Hobbins was my fourth grade teacher, and she actually has taught all the different grades, and she gave me her side on bullying in kindergarten and in elementary school, and she's seen a lot of it. She told me to go back to when I was a fourth grader and how she taught me when I was being bullied, because I was bullied all the time. And she told me those are the things that she instills even when she's teaching kindergarten, or when she's a principal, or when she's doing something in an administrative area. Kevin Dost is an actual therapist, and he was teaching me about the mental health side and what these bullying students how they victimize other students, or what they think and where it comes from. And he was a major part in teaching me about what they're thinking, where they get it from, if they're getting it from the parent. Sarah Moe is an early childhood teacher in my school as well, and she talked about the early when they're just turning 3, things that they haven't got yet, and she's more on the developmental side of bullying and thinking that there really is no need for curriculum for bullying, but they just need to grow a little bit more. Classroom experiences, I looked and observed kids outside on the playground and saw some bullying out there. They excluded many children and isolated them, wouldn't let them play with them. I saw it in the circle time where some kids wouldn't let other kids talk because they didn't think they could talk well enough, and so they would make fun of them. I also saw it in playgroup during the playtime, where there were observations of students being bullied as well, or teased, or they couldn't play, they were isolated or excluded. I also read a book called The 55 Essentials by Ron Clark, which talks about manners, and I think that's a part of teaching about bullying and behaviors is, okay, if you know your manners, you'll know how to treat people. And he gave me 55 essentials for working in a classroom for children in the classroom. Children's voices on bullying was a big one, because that's where you had one side of bullying and they felt that there was no need for curriculum on bullying because the children are developing. And so many of the things that they talked about they felt weren't true bullying, but something that children are growing up to. And finally, bullying affects us too was on the other side, where they felt that there was curriculum needed for bullying and that students should be able to learn about bullying and behaviors and strategies to curtail that, such as teaching children how to say no. teaching children how to stand up for themselves. Let's continue on this research, learning, and experiences. I want to talk about two of the experiences briefly. One that I had was with actual students. I was in a 4K class, which is the class that I actually teach, but I was in my colleague's classroom, and two students were actually on the ground tussling because another student told another student that they weren't able to play. And so the teacher in the classroom, I was there observative, so I had to step in, and I just had to pull the children aside and have that teachable moment with them. And I had to think of strategies that I heard of through the research that I did on how to curtail this actual situation. And I started with talking about how we are friends in the classroom and how we don't fight with each other or put hands on each other. And I asked them things about like what could have been done different. Why are you fighting was one of the actual topics, and come to find out that one of the students thought that the other student didn't understand how to play the game, and because they spoke a different language. And so I have to let them know that the student knows how to play. You just have to go maybe show them through actions and not words, or use your words to teach them how to understand you. Maybe speak a little slower so they can understand you, and maybe that would help. Or think of different ways to get each other on the same page so that you can actually play together. And the children actually understand that, and I had to do a little modeling for them, and that was a good experience. And now those kids are best friends in the classroom through that teachable moment. Another experience I had was actually in the interview process. When I was speaking with Ophelia Lowe, I really enjoyed that experience of being taken back to when I was bullied in 4th grade because I was the only Black student in the school. And so we talked about remembering those experiences of feeling that anxiety, of feeling like I don't want to go to school, and how those things were curtailed. I had to gain confidence. One thing, I was a very quiet and timid child, and so we had to learn about being confident and talking to other students and asking them to want to play. And then with those bullying, going to tell an adult when I felt like I was not safe. And so that took me back, and having those experiences really taught me about true bullying and how it feels and how you want to respond. So those are two experiences that I had through this actual process. And now we'll talk about relationships. I've gained a stronger relationship with other teachers at my school because of this actual doing this topic, because before I was very antisocial because I'm still working on my social aspect of my life. And so actually going and meeting other teachers was a very enlightening to me, and it gave me actually as an adult teaching me more social skills. And so it was good networking. I met a whole bunch of teachers that I didn't even know were in school, got to know my principal better, and really got to have a dialogue with all these different people that I haven't spoke to in a long time. So I was building relationships. I built a relationship with the 4th grade teacher. They said I can one day come in and shadow them, possibly do my student teaching with them, so I could really walk into my future endeavors and really know what I'm doing and know of what's there before I even walk in there. The brochure that I made is becoming very effective. The teachers really like it because they just wanted to have something easy to go to that was straightforward, to know how to report if there's a bullying accident or incident. I actually had upper grade level teachers that really had seen PowerPoints and really didn't have something to go to if some form of bullying came. So it became a big thing around my school to have this little tool in case they need to know which forms to fill out, who to contact, what is true bullying, so they're not just reporting every incident of behavior that's going on or something, and knowing how to curtail the ones that they can do themselves. All right, let me do my reflection on some of the things I've learned and what's going on with this topic. Challenges was time. It was always time and management because I was working. I worked 2 jobs. I'm in different choirs and different organizations around the city of Madison. So time was always a factor in getting together with a lot of these teachers because they're teaching during this time. And I'm teaching was very difficult. Also, there was always one person on one side of the topic and another person on the other side of the topic. One person would believe that they don't need bullying curriculum because it's developmental. They're going to learn it as they grow. And other teachers taught, please bring me some curriculum on bullying or get me to a website that I can use so that we can curtail this bullying from the bud as a kindergarten teacher. So it was always debate back and forth, having interviews with people and doing observations. They are always saying, okay, I just want you to let them play and just observe. Don't tell them to do anything, because I want them to develop their own play skills and ways of management of this. It doesn't really involve us. They need to learn it. Where other ones were like, you need to jump in there and jump in the trenches and have teachable moments with them about bullying. And so it was a constant debate. And even the research and the articles that I read went back and forth about how it's developmental and how they need curriculum. There's just not enough research. And I'm just like, how am I going to do this topic when nobody is on the same side and on the same page about being in this? But in my mind, what I'm finding, and this goes into my successes, is that there is a need for more research for kindergartners on behaviors, and bullying is one of them that needs to be researched more, and curriculum needs to be created, and it'll be a big success for me and for kindergarten teachers if I was, since I'm doing this topic, I'll be able to come up with maybe something for them in the brochure as a start for them. What did Kenneth learn about himself? I learned that I'm still needing to learn confidence and learn about social skills, because as a teacher, this is something that I'm going to have to teach and instill in these children so that they aren't bullied, and standing up for yourself is one of them. I've always been a person that's very introverted, where you want to teach that you want to be outgoing, you want to be professional, you want to be out there, and I am the model for that. And so that's something that I learned about myself. I also learned about procrastination. It is not good, and it does not help, and it doesn't make you effective. And so I think that learning that has enhanced me, and also learning about bullying and going to reading these articles and reading books about manners and things of this sort has made me more effective and more just giving me that passion to teach more. Fostering, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was what program goals and outcomes you want to have. I want to foster an environment of cultural responsive practice that values diversity for the realization of collective potential. I want everybody to be able to learn, no matter where you come from, what culture you are. I want there to be a collective potential for everybody. I want every student to feel that they can achieve a certain goal. And I believe that combating behaviors is one of them. Getting that development, getting that confidence is very important. I believe that that's what this is teaching me, and what the goal is. Future plans with knowledge. I'd like to one day take this knowledge around the country and show that as kindergarten teachers, we're not just babysitters. There are actual curriculums that need to be created. There are actually behaviors that can be curtailed at the earliest level, but we're waiting until they get to 5K kindergarten or first grade to deal with these. No, we can deal with it right now, nip it in the bud, find out what parenting strategies need to be done, and all these different things to have these children effective before they go into the upper grades. This is our future that we're dealing with, and we need to do it early. I'd like to first thank everybody for watching my presentation on bullying in the kindergarten classroom. I hope I expressed the research that I have done over the past 8 weeks. I hope that it's shown you a passion and give you some insight into bullying in the kindergarten classroom, that it is there, and that is something that we as educators can battle and confront and really teach foundational manners and things to kids at an early age, that it's not just done when you get into 4th and 5th grade. If you have any questions on resources or things that you can use to learn how to strategies on combating bullying in your school, you can contact me and I will let you know about them. Again, this is Kenneth Pope, and this is my presentation on bullying in kindergarten, and I thank you.